the time constant in a capacitor circuit. When a capacitor charges, its voltage climbs from 0 volts up to the supply voltage. When it discharges, it starts at the supply voltage and gradually falls back down to 0. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The time constant, represented by the Greek letter tau, tells us how fast this change happens. And it's super simple to calculate. Tau is equal to R times C. Just multiply the resistance by the capacitance, and boom, you've got your time constant. But why is this so important? Because when a capacitor charges or discharges through a resistor, something fascinating happens during one time constant. The voltage changes by about 63.2% of the difference between where it started and where it's heading. Let me put it this way. During charging, after one time constant, the capacitor gains about 63.2% of the voltage it still needs to reach the supply voltage. And during discharging, after one time constant, it loses about 63.2% of whatever voltage it started with. It's like the capacitor is racing toward the finish line, fast at first, but slowing down as it gets closer. Let's walk through a simple example to really nail down how the time constant works in an RC circuit. Imagine this setup. We have a resistor with a value of 1 kilo ohm, that's 1,000 ohms, and a capacitor with a value of 1,000 microfarads, which is 0.001 farads. At the beginning, the capacitor's voltage is 0. By the end, it's going to charge up to the source voltage, which is 10 volts. Now, to find the time constant, all we have to do is multiply the resistance by the capacitance. That gives us a time constant of 1 second. In other words, in just 1 second, the capacitor will be about 63.2% of the way to full charge. All right, let's work through the calculations step by step. Our starting voltage is 0 volts, and the source voltage is 10 volts. During the first time constant, that's 1 second, the capacitor will charge up by about 63.2% of the way from where it started toward the final voltage. Since we're starting from 0 volts, 63.2% of 10 volts is 6.32 volts. So, at the end of the first second, the capacitor's voltage will be around 6.32 volts. Already more than halfway there, but still some distance left to go. Let's mark this point on a voltage versus time graph so we can see it more clearly. At 1 second, the voltage reaches 6.32 volts. Plotting it out helps us actually see how the capacitor is racing toward the supply voltage, but still has a little way to go. We can calculate the voltage change during the second time constant in exactly the same way as before, but this time, keep in mind, the starting voltage is now 6.32 volts, because that's where the capacitor charged up to after the first time constant. From there, the voltage rise during the second time constant is about 2.32 volts. Let's mark this on the graph. Starting from the end of the first time constant at 6.32 volts, we now add the 2.32 volt rise. So, 6.32 plus 2.32 gives us about 8.65 volts at the end of the second time constant. Let's plot that point on the graph too. You'll notice how the voltage keeps getting closer to 10 volts. But each step gets smaller and smaller. Now let's do the same thing for the third time constant. This time we're starting from 8.65 volts, the voltage we reached after the second time constant. During the third time constant, the capacitor will gain about 63.2% of that remaining difference, which is 0.85 volts. So during the third time constant, the voltage rise is just 0.85 volts. Let's mark that on the graph too. Starting from 8.65 volts, we add 0.85 volts, which brings us to about 9.5 volts at the end of the third second. You can really see the curve flattening out now. It's getting closer and closer to 10 volts, but never quite touching it. Now, let's do the calculation for the fourth time constant. After the fourth time constant, the voltage will reach about 9.82 volts. If we go one more step, after the fifth time constant, the voltage will be around 9.93 volts. And it keeps going like that. Each time constant gets the capacitor closer and closer to the final 10 volts. but with smaller and smaller voltage changes. By plotting all these points, we can draw a smooth curve that shows how a capacitor charges over time, and that's how we build the classic voltage time graph for a charging capacitor. In our example, we started with 0 volts, but that's not always the case. No matter what the starting voltage is, whether you're charging or discharging, you can still use the same idea. When charging, calculate how much the voltage increases during each time constant and add it to the starting voltage. When discharging, calculate how much the voltage drops and subtract it from the starting voltage. The method stays the same. The only thing that changes is whether you're adding or subtracting. Now let's compare these charging and discharging circuits. In the charging case, the capacitor starts at 0 volts and heads toward 10 volts. After 5 time constants, the voltage reaches about 9.93 volts, close to 10 volts, but not exactly there. Even if we keep calculating for more time, it gets closer and closer, but never fully hits 10 volts. In the discharging case, it's the same story in reverse. If the capacitor starts at 10 volts, after 5 time constants, the voltage drops to about 0.07 volts. Very close to 0, but again, not exactly 0. In theory, a capacitor never fully reaches the supply voltage when charging or 0 volts when discharging. But practically, after 5 time constants, it's more than 99% charged or more than 99% discharged. That's why we can confidently say a capacitor takes about 5 time constants to fully charge or discharge for all practical purposes. Now you should have a solid understanding of the capacitor's time constant. The time constant tells us how fast the voltage across a capacitor rises or falls. And no matter where we start, after 1 time constant, the voltage always changes by about 63.2% of the remaining distance. But where does that magic number 63.2% actually come from? To find out, we'll need to dive into a little calculus. Don't worry, it's easier than you might think. In the last section, we learned how voltage and current are related in a capacitor. Now let's talk about how a capacitor discharges and do the math behind it. We'll start with the basic formula. Q equals C times V. That means charge equals capacitance times voltage. Now, let's take the time derivative of both sides. Since current is the rate of change of charge, we get current equals capacitance times the rate of change of voltage. We've already seen the basic relationship, so let's move on. First, we'll rearrange the equation to make dV by dt the subject, like this. But since we're dealing with discharging, where the voltage is decreasing, we add a minus sign to reflect that. Next, we can replace the current through the resistor using Ohm's law. Current equals voltage divided by resistance. Now let's separate the variables and rearrange the equation. At this point, we have a nice, clean differential equation. To solve it, we integrate both sides, which basically means we're figuring out how the values change over time. After integrating, we get an equation that looks like this. There's a constant, K, in the solution, and we can figure it out using the initial conditions. At time t equals 0, the voltage is V0, so K is equal to the natural logarithm of V0. Now, let's plug that value of K back into the equation and simplify. We can use the logarithm rules here to clean it up even more. Then, by taking the inverse of the natural log, we finally get the complete equation. This is the formula that shows how a capacitor discharges over time. The voltage doesn't drop in a straight line. It falls gradually along a smooth, exponential curve. Now let's do the same thing for a charging capacitor. This time, we don't need to make the current negative, because now the voltage is increasing as the capacitor charges. But there's a small difference we have to be careful about. When we apply Ohm's law, the voltage across the resistor is not just the capacitor's voltage. It's actually the difference between the supply voltage and the capacitor's voltage. In other words, voltage across resistor is Vs minus V. The rest of the steps are very similar to what we did for discharging. This tells us how the capacitor's voltage grows over time, starting from 0 and gradually getting closer and closer to the supply voltage. Now, let's compare the charging and discharging of a capacitor. First, take a look at the charging equation. When a capacitor is charging, the voltage across it follows this formula. Now, what happens after one time constant, when time t equals R times C? At that point, the exponential part of the formula becomes about 0.368. So the equation simplifies to V is V's times 1 minus 0.368, which equals V is V's times 0.632. This means that after one time constant, the capacitor's voltage has reached about 63.2% of the supply voltage. And that's where this magical 63.2% number actually comes from. Now let's think about discharging. When a capacitor is discharging, the voltage follows the given formula. Again, after one time constant, the exponential part becomes 0.368. So now the voltage is V0 times 0.368. That means the capacitor's voltage has dropped down to about 36.8% of its original value, which is a 63.2% decrease. So in both charging and discharging after one time constant, the voltage changes by about 63.2% of the total difference, whether it's going up or going down. I think now everything should be really clear. You know what the time constant is, what it means, and how to calculate it. At first, these ideas might seem a little complicated, but once you start working with them, it becomes much easier. Now, finally, let's look at a real circuit that uses the capacitor time constant in practice. Let's talk about a simple RC timing circuit. In this circuit, there's a push button, and you can connect any load you want, like a light bulb, a fan, or anything else, which is controlled through a relay. Here's how it works. When you press the button, the light bulb turns on immediately. But when you release the button, it doesn't turn off right away. Instead, it stays on for about 1 more minute, and then it turns off automatically. You can even adjust the circuit to keep the load turned on for a longer or shorter time, depending on what you need. So now let's see how this circuit actually works. This is an LM393, a dual comparator IC. Simply put, it compares two voltages and decides what to do based on the result. Here's the idea. Let's say the voltage at pin 2 is V2. If the voltage at pin 3, V3, is lower than V2, then the output at pin 1 drops to 0 volts. In that case, the relay isn't energized and the bulb stays off. But if the voltage at pin 3 is higher than at pin 2, then the output at pin 1 jumps up to the supply voltage. In this circuit, that's 5 volts. When that happens, the relay energizes, and the bulb turns on. So our goal is simple. We need to make sure the voltage at pin 3 stays higher than at pin 2 for about 1 minute. First, let's look at the voltage at pin 2. Pin 2 is connected to a voltage divider, so its voltage is fixed at 1.8 volts. That means we need to keep pin 3's voltage above 1.8 volts for 1 minute. How can we do that? Now, pay attention to the capacitor. When we press the push button, the capacitor starts charging through a 1 kilo-ohm resistor. The time constant for charging is RC, which is 1 kilo times 10 microfarads, giving us a time constant of 10 milliseconds. Since a capacitor needs about 5 time constants to fully charge, we only need to hold the push button for about 50 milliseconds. That's a very short time, perfect for a normal push button press. After about 50 milliseconds, the voltage at pin 3 reaches around 5 volts. At that point, the relay is energized and the light turns on. Now, after we release the push button, the capacitor starts to slowly discharge through the 6.2 mega-ohm resistor. As it discharges, the voltage at pin 3 drops down. When the voltage at pin 3 falls below 1.8 volts, the relay de-energizes and the bulb turns off. To find how long it takes a capacitor to discharge from an initial voltage to a specific voltage, I'll use the capacitor discharge equation. Here, Vt is the voltage we want the capacitor to discharge down to. That's 1.8 volts. V0 is the initial voltage, which is 5 volts. The resistance R is 6.2 megohm resistor, and the capacitance C is 10 microfarads. All right, let's do the math. First, substitute all the known values into the capacitor discharge equation. Now, to solve for time t, we rearrange the equation and take the natural logarithm of both sides. After calculating, we find that T over RC is about 1.0217. Multiplying through by RC, we get T is about 62 seconds. So, it will take approximately 62 seconds for the capacitor to discharge from 5 volts down to 1.8 volts through the 6.2 megohm resistor. We can show the voltages V1, V2, and V3 on a graph like this. When the button is pressed, you can see that V3 jumps up to about 5 volts within just 50 milliseconds. If you look closely, you'll notice that V3 actually crosses over V2 almost immediately, even before it fully reaches 5 volts. So the relay turns on as soon as the button is pressed. After we release the button, V3 starts to decrease slowly. And just like we calculated earlier, it will take about 62 seconds for V3 to fall from 5 volts down to around 1.8 volts. At that point, the relay turns off, but even after the relay is off, the capacitor keeps discharging, and V3 continues to fall all the way down to 0 volts. The best part? You can easily adjust the delay time by changing the resistor or capacitor values. Bigger resistance or bigger capacitance means a longer delay. Smaller values give you a faster one. That's all for today. If you think my contents are valuable to the world, you are welcome to join my Patreon community. Like and subscribe to Professor Mad for more interesting videos.